Now, all that being said, I want you to know, maybe if you're like me, when I first thought about starting my coaching business, and I wanted to be the kind of coach who would really produce the result for my clients, I looked at the world's #1 coach and I thought, maybe I can't do it. And the reason I thought that was because I didn't think I was good enough. I mean, I looked at this world's #1 coach and he was very tall, and I'm not tall at all. I'm 5'10", and he was 6'7", and I looked at him and said, wow, that's why he's so confident, because he's so tall, you see. And I also looked at him, and he was the president of his high school, grade A student. He was a very smart guy. For me, I failed grade 7. I did not do well in school, and I dropped out of high school, and I was not a very social person at all. So in the beginning, I thought maybe other people can do it, but I don't think I can do it because I didn't think I was good enough. And I don't know if some of you feel that way, but that's a normal feeling to start with. However, here's what happened. What I realized is there's a big difference between perception and fact. Remember we talked about the fact finder, right? So in other words, it might be true, the fact is that the world's #1 coach, right, is 6'7", right? However, the fact is that the world's #1 coach is very tall. But the perception is, what does that mean? Does that mean I can't be a coach? At the time, I thought it meant that, but the truth is, no way. That's not what it means at all. The perception was wrong, because when you have a perception, remember, if you use the fact finder, you got to ask the question, how do you know? And I did some research on coaches at the time, and I found out that, of course, there's a lot of coaches that are not tall. In fact, one of my first trainer, which was Zig Ziglar, was a very short guy, So he built a very successful coaching business, and he was not tall. So that proved to me that when I looked at all the facts, this was not a requirement. You don't have to be tall to be a coach. So why am I telling you that? Here's why. When I do the coaching certification course and people, learn the step-by-step process, sometimes they'll go out and they'll try it, and then they're not going to get the result. As I said to you before, 93% got it, and some of them did not get it. But what happens is this, and I'm just going to show you here. What happens? So you have other people's experience, right? And you follow the step-by-step. That's step 1. So you come to coaching certification. You learn the 16th step, and then what happens is, well, you need to take action, okay? That's step 2. And then when you take action, you either get success, and as I told you before, 93% get success when they follow exactly the step-by-step process, or you get what we call feedback. And I call it feedback, but some people might look at that as failure or, bad experience or whatever you want to call it. We'll talk about that in video number 2 about the ultimate success formula. But what happens is they didn't get the result, and then they turned to me and said, well, it didn't work for me. And they say, I'm not good enough, and it might work for other people, but it won't work for me. And I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough for people, or, I'm not like you, I'm not like that person, or whatever they say. But the problem is they basically generalize, and they start looking at the fact. They don't look at the fact, they look at the result, and they say, I'm not good enough. Now, why am I telling you this? The reason I'm telling you this is because all limiting belief come from a generalization. It means that you don't look at all the facts. Instead, you just generalize. Here's a fact, and here's what this means. And it's a very simple explanation why they did not get the result. But the truth is, when I coached them and I said, listen, I said, okay, fair enough, you did not get that result. Were you able to follow the step-by-step process, or were you not able to follow it at all? Like, meaning they were not able to do step 1, step 2. And I asked them, which step were you able to do? Were you able to do step 1? And say, well, yeah, I guess I was able to do step 1. So which specific step did you get feedback on? Meaning you need to improve. And they thought about it, and they thought, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess I need to improve this step number 7. And then I would train them and coach them on how to make it better until they felt confident. You see, so here's what this means. When people look at the big result, I want to make 1,000,000 yen per month. And they think, oh, I don't know if I can do that, because the bigger the goal, the more exciting, right? But also the bigger the goal, we lack the confidence. Why? Because we're not looking at the specific. See, small goals are believable, therefore achievable. What does that mean? It means don't focus on the big result and say, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Instead, shrink it down into one little step and then look at that, and you'll see the smaller the goal, the more you feel confident you can do it. All you got to learn is how exactly to do that step. And that's why it's so important that you have precise step-by-step information. And it's critical. Don't look at the big thing that you got to do. Instead, look at the small step. And the more you focus on that, the more confident you're going to feel, which is why we're giving you step-by-step information.